All right, this is my daily update for my build and public log. It's January 29th, 2025. I have a big update for today. I'm switching gears. I've decided to switch gears. Um, so I have been heads down building, uh, attempting to build multiple AI agents. Uh, but I started with one, and in order to build that, I decided to roll my own AI agent framework for my specific needs for how I want to be able to do essentially this. So I made this landing page. This is like totally a work in progress. Technically, you can click the buy button. Um, so the intention was to build agents for this. Uh, this is a a la carte service. So the intention is I build um, really high quality agents, and you pay uh, per agent, or you pay um, a flat fee for like a la carte. So any agent that I build, the idea was you could deploy it anywhere. So if you want to just download uh, all the code, just like it's like a zipped up directory with all the code, you could do that. If you want to push and deploy it to Vercel and have it work on Vercel or Netlify, which, pro tip, these are just kind of middlemen for where it really ends up being deployed on AWS. Yeah, they're moving in the direction of using Dino instead, because it's just so much faster and performant and built from the ground up with that in mind, or even Bun.js. But really, these guys are middlemen for just abstracting away AWS. You want to just push and deploy that agent to AWS and run it? Do you want to push it to Cloudflare? Or do you just want to use it in a no-code tool? And, the idea being it's just there and you just copy and paste and put it into your workflow in Aiden. So this was my intention, okay? I was building agents and I was like, okay, I will build a framework so I become like really, really knowledgeable and I could build like very high quality agents. I have a framework, I can move fast. I just, build on top of this framework and put them all on this site, and you can buy each one individually or all of cart. Like, let's say there's just one. The idea is you buy it, drop it into your project or product, and you don't spend all that time like fussing about, okay, what framework do I use? How do I do this? How do I do that? The idea is like, it's like a boilerplate. That's very popular now, where you buy a boilerplate and you just build your app really quickly on top of it. That was my intention, okay? But after thinking about it very deeply, I care a lot about making it very high quality, making it performant, making it, I talked a lot about this before. The secret with the agents is this trifecta of cost, performance, and accuracy. It has to like actually work really well. And I want to nail that and keep up to date, because this space moves fast and I want to like rejig it and offer the best service. Like, I want to have that quality and iterate. I shared my diagram quite a bit with what I'm aiming to build. I want to get to this, okay, where the agent runs. There's a system where it collects the metrics, it analyzes it, and always is making itself better with a human in the loop. And so I give this all a lot of thought, and I'm like, how can I do that with this? And my intention was I'd build a framework that would phone home, that would send anonymous data, so anonymous metrics per run, errors that happen, how successful it was, how unsuccessful. My intention was to bake that into this, but you'd be able to turn it off. So, there's just a simple config flag where you turn it off and it doesn't do that. But how many people are really going to do that? How many people are going to turn it off? And I'm not going to get that visibility. And how many people even want this? Do people want to drop this in? How am I going to update this? So there's going to have to be updates if the thing corrects itself, or even I myself find a bug, or someone finds a bug. How am I going to do that? I thought, well, okay, I will have this be on GitHub. I'll add people. There'll be a new release, and people can pull it in. Maybe a bot will make a pull request. But how is it going to do that with their big code? What if they drop this into their project, and when do they start hacking on it to death? How will they what is that upgrade path? And then I was like, well, no worries. You'll install it with npm or whatever, yarn, whatever, and then you could just update it like a normal package. So I thought about doing that, and that is possible. But then what about this deploying? And the more I've dug in already on actually building a real agent and how the long running ones will work, it's not even going to work on Netlify or Vercel. It will time out here too. It needs to be built in a certain way that probably these won't even work. This will work. NPM package, that'll work. Could you build it into N8N like a no-code tool? Yeah, that'll work. But the more I thought about all of this, and the more I realized I want to be like Steve Jobs, who's like a tyrant obsessed with quality and control. Okay, I don't want to be an asshole like Steve Jobs, but the more I thought about it, the conclusion I came to was I need to just offer this as not an NPM package you install, but an API you call and you get charged, just like ChatGPT, just like DeepSeek. If you're not running DeepSeek locally, if any LLM that you call, it works the same way. You create an account, you pay for credits, you get an API key, and you call it, and you get the result. I think I need to go towards that model, and that way I have that very tight control where you don't have to worry about updating the package. You don't have to worry about this. Just get this out of there. And it will be a lot more easier to implement into a no-code tool, which frankly is like eating the goddamn world. I have droned on and on about N8N for years before ChatGPT, and no one saw the vision that I was seeing. I was like, this is the future, and I still believe that. And now I think a lot of people see with the AI, they've pivoted to going all in on AI. And I just think for those folks that want to use N8N or like a no-code tool, the integration story of just calling an API is much better. I'm almost done. I'm working on the metrics still. I have that working, but then like the action of actually using the agent and like trying to collect metrics in my app. But that action, it showed me, yeah, I need to rejig the framework for the metrics a bit more. That it just honestly just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. So I want this to be solid. So again, you're not gonna have to worry about the metrics if I go this route. The thing will just get better as you call it and use it. The more people that use it, the more data I have, the more I can see the metrics of like how many times it's successful versus failed, what errors, the better off it will be. So I think that's the right approach to go. But let me know if you disagree and you're like, no, I would love the code. I want to click to deploy to AWS. I want to use it in a no-code tool. So you tell me. My biggest problem is I don't get feedback. I put stuff out there and it's crickets. I don't get feedback. So Your feedback is priceless to me. It would mean a lot if you can respond in the comments if you're watching this. So, what do you think? Should I offer it up as code that you buy and you own forever, by the way? And with the possibility to upgrade, maybe you copy and paste, maybe you update a package. Do you prefer that? Or would you rather just call something and just have it be cost effective and just work? I don't know. So you tell me. I think that is a better model for providing what I want to provide. I'm going to watch for feedback if I get any, for sure. But if I don't get feedback, I'm going to just go ahead and get that agent wrapped up, put it here on this site, and start offering up that service. There'll be a demo for you to try, the scheduling agent. That will be the demo. So you'll be able to click demo, and you'll have a text box here, and you can put in text, and it will output a meeting. So an invite, a calendar invite, and the links to add and create that invite. So that's my update for today. On to my random story for today. So speaking of code that you purchase and use, a couple years ago, right after things were maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I joined this program that was to take technology that's like on the bleeding edge, created in U.S. laboratories, so nationally funded laboratories. They invent technology. So by a federal laboratory, I mean like NASA, Sandia National Laboratories, Los Alamos, like these big labs that just, they have all the quote unquote nerds sitting there making technologies. Well, sometimes they want to commercialize these technologies, but it's very early. There's a lot of risk. It's not well shaken out. So they try this. I was in a program that tries to match technologies with entrepreneurs and people who have the skill sets to maybe possibly run with that technology and bring it to market. So I got put on a team for software, of course, even though I didn't want to be on a software team. But they're like, well, you're a software engineer and you have like 15 years experience. Go be on a team for software. So I got placed on a team with a couple people who obviously had, overlapping skills with me. And we got a technology it was software that tried to, in a very smart way, before AI, it tries to find the metabolic pathways that you need to tweak. So like what changes in the DNA do you need to change to get that single cell organism to produce something? Like let's say you want to make stevia. That molecule, stevia is like a sweetener. Stevia is actually just a plant that produces this chemical, steviol. And we extract that molecule and we make a sweetener out of it. So the plant produces that. So there's cells in that plant that produce that molecule. Well, you could actually take just a bacteria, tweak the DNA, and brew it up like beer or wine in these big tanks, exactly like you do alcohol, and it produces that chemical, and you just scoop that chemical out and you manufacture it at scale. This is what we're doing more and more. We're making things like indigo dye, like blue dye for blue jeans. People are biomanufacturing this stuff now. This is the future. So I was very excited about this technology, and I tried to do a startup. And I was the tech guy, the software engineer on the team. So my task was to build the MVP. And the raw code we got from this big national laboratory was Python. So I was like, it makes sense. Like if we're calling Python, let's stick to the same language, Like let's just have the web app be Python, so it could call this Python package and wait for a response, and let me just do this in Django. But again, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I bought a Bootstrap boilerplate. So I went and paid with my own money. It was, it's not cheap, but I went and bought this boilerplate, which is everything included. So you pay the money and you configure with the checkbox, all these settings. I want Tailwind. Oh, I want Teams. I want user accounts. Oh, I want to use AI stuff. Oh, I want to use e-commerce. And then it spits you out all the code, and then you build your application on top of it. It's great. I'm all for boilerplates, whatever you call them, Bootstrap, whatever the hell. They have all these different names. I loved it. It was great. I got up and running really fast. I didn't have to worry about all this stuff. I didn't have to worry about off because Django's pretty tough. You got to know what you're doing. And this is, opinionated, and it worked. So I built the MVP, and unfortunately, we failed to get traction. We started talking to some VCs, and this was right before ChatGPT came out. And I think if we were doing this when I think that overlap when ChatGPT first became useful. I think if we were doing it at that time, we would have been like, hey, like the software is almost there. If we slap on AI, this could work. And we talked a lot about doing that and how we could do that. But unfortunately, it didn't work out with the co-founders, and we fizzled out. I ended up just walking away, unfortunately, and they just kind of went their own ways, me and the other founders. So really, really cool technology. I'm optimistic we're going to crack that code and figure out that how to do that whole process, because biomanufacturing of all the chemicals and molecules that we need and run our civilization on, we could just make that at scale in a factory. Holy shit, this is groundbreaking. We're doing this now. People don't know about this. A lot of people don't know that we're doing this now. A lot of pharmaceutical companies, that's how they get their drugs now. A lot of them are going in that route. So really fascinating stuff. And I highly recommend use a really good boilerplate if you need to start. And that was my intention. That's my intention with this. My whole intention with Agents Code was to be that for agents. So this is one little piece in a big puzzle. I think maybe for this API makes more sense. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Please, please, please give me feedback in the comments. That helps the algorithm, and it helps me really understand what people need. Because at the end of the day, I'm building this for other people. You tell me what you mean. You tell me what you want, and I will do my best to provide it. All right. See you all tomorrow.